Hey, and welcome back to another episode of Slim Bits. This one on episode 8 of KILLROY. So, I guess the only thing really interesting, or that's interesting about this episode, is the origin of the Molefolk enemies here. 604. I forgot that was KILLROY's apartment number. For those of you who don't know, 604 is the area code for the province of British Columbia. And I was born in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I make all the episodes in Vancouver. So I thought that was a nice little nod to my Canadian origins. So every KILLROY villain sort of has their roots in an established villain from either the DC or Marvel superhero comics. And it'd be sort of easy to suggest that these characters were a throwback to the Mole Men from that very first black and white Superman movie starring Kirk Allen, or the Fantastic Four villains, the Mole Men, or whoever the hell they are. But really, they draw their inspiration from something a little bit more contemporary. So this is actually one of the older KILLROY episodes that I had written way back in like 2005 or so. And around that time, I was pretty heavily invested in the old Adult Swim cartoons, primarily Harvey Birdman and Aqua Teen Hunger Force. There was just something about those cartoons where episodes would be about 10 or 11 minutes long, and they would just cram so much humor into them and so much absurd comedy into it. And I think these villains pay tribute to some of my favorite characters, at least from the Aqua Teen Hunger Force. And if fans of the show can't figure out who I'm talking about just yet, it's the Mooninites. Those retro video game-inspired aliens from the moon who would come down to Earth periodically, inject themselves into the lives of the Aqua Teens, and just wouldn't leave. They were just these troublemaking pests who were completely full of themselves, but couldn't really back it up, and they just made the lives of the Aqua Teens a living hell. And I think the Molefolk here are my tribute and a blatant ripoff of those characters. The only difference being that while the Mooninites came from the moon, the Molefolk came from beneath the ground, but they're still essentially the same type of character. They have delusions of grandeur, but they're really kind of pathetic, and they just will not leave KILLROY alone. A couple of them are expertly voiced by my friend Zach, who is a professional voice actor. And anytime I can get him involved in a KILLROY episode, it just I'm so happy to have him. And I think he brought like this sort of insane sniveling kind of intensity to these characters that just suits them so well. So this is a pretty simple episode where these characters just spend the entire day annoying KILLROY, and he can't do anything about it because they have bulletproof skin. So. For once, KILLROY's sort of at a loss to what to do when he's faced with an enemy more powerful than he is. And it just struck me. Another interesting thing about this episode is the inclusion of Captain Clown there, which maybe I'm the only one that cares enough about this, but that is the first time that KILLROY doesn't get his man. I introduce a villain and he doesn't die by the end of this episode, and in fact, we don't see him again until. Many episodes later, where I have my first cold opening. Up until this point, KILLROY has always managed to kill everyone that he comes up against. Here's one that gets away from him, and what happened to Captain Clown, this guy who we introduce here, and he doesn't have a speaking role, and we later find out many months later. There's me macking on some girl in the background while all this is going on. Yeah, I was really sort of a non-factor in this episode, but I did manage to sneak in one of my absolute favorite lines of the entire series where, I just chime in with, well, if the center of the Earth is so great, why do you want to conquer the surface? Which, just stuns the talkative Molefolk people. We don't have to tell you. So they don't even know themselves. Anyways, thanks for watching. This was a relatively short episode, and I guess the commentary went on longer than the actual show itself. So stay tuned until next time. Bye.